Good afternoon, Big Brother fans. It is Friday, August 2nd. I think I said it was day 18. This is my second podcast of the day. I did one this morning. This is my afternoon podcast. I usually don't do two in a day unless something has happened. And enough went on since this morning till this afternoon that I thought it was valid to do a second one. So those of you that are really interested and didn't hear my one from this morning, listen to that one too. We'll give you a very quick recap. Overnight, we found out that Cedric won the the head of household. He won the head of household competition, and so the other thing that we learned is that there are no have-nots this week, which is an interesting little twist. The house guests talked since I last talked to you this morning, they got up, they were talking this morning, and they're speculating that, well, there's no have-nots this week, so that means next week everybody's eligible, because there was some rule they threw out this year that it was you couldn't be a have-not 2 weeks in a row. That's new. Also, having people volunteer to be have-nots instead of making someone assign them. It's just all these little, tweakiness of, whatever, the amount of condiments they can use to get around the have-nots. I mean, it's a limited diet, but they let them do all kinds of things with the steel-cut oats and protein powder. But the house guests were speculating. When I say the house guests, I mean it was Brooklyn, Cedric, Kenny, and Tucker, I think. Those are the four that I listened to for about 15 minutes this morning talking about the goings-on. And that group specifically was speculating on the have-nots, the fact that they didn't have them this week, so that next week everybody will be eligible. They think that maybe the four worst players at the next competition, the next head of household, will get have-nots. That's just their guess. They don't know anything. They just got things they need to talk about. The other thing that specific group talked about that I found interesting was they talked about who has the special power. They all seem to know that MJ has one of the powers, right? Almost everybody in the whole house knows that. Some version of the power. That's another thing I'll try to touch on before I get off of here. But they said, well, now that Lisa's gone, of that group, I shouldn't say they all know that MJ has the power. That group, let's see, MJ, Kenny, Tucker, and Brooklyn. I'm not 100% sure, and it doesn't really matter. But what they do know is because there was two different groups that competed for powers, they know or they think that Lisa, Tikor, or Quinn have one of the powers. And since Lisa got voted out, they were speculating, well, Lisa didn't use her power, whatever it was, if she had it. So if she didn't have a power, then it's either Quinn or Tikor that have it. And they were like, yeah, there's no way Tikor had a power. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. Tikor passed out last night on the live show or fell down. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if I mentioned it this morning, but there was a moment when they were coming back from the AI competition, there was a moment where you saw Quinn and Lee rushing over to somebody that looked like somebody must have fallen. And it was like, what was going on? Well, as it turns out, I guess Tikor stood up and got lightheaded and she kind of fell down. And that's what you saw, is you saw Quinn and Lee rushing to her, but they didn't really talk about it at all, and they didn't show it other than you saw them moving. But Tikor, they talked about it, how she had fallen over, and that's what was going on. So just another side note. So of that group of four that I was just talking about, Brooklyn, Tucker, Cedric, who's head of household, remember, and Kenny, they're talking. Kenny all but said, I'm going up. I know I'm going up. So, and they know that Angela's going to go up, right? That's just a given now. Until they are out of the house, Kenny and Angela seem to be automatic nominees. And then the question is, who's the third nominee going to be? And Cedric's the one who's got to come up with this. And he's asking people, do you want to be nominated? He's basically asking for volunteers to be a nominee, assuming that either Kenny or Angela will be the actual person to go home. But remember, and I did talk about that this morning, that there are two chances to get off the block. So it's possible that third nominee, next to Angela and Kenny, may be the last one remaining of the three of them when the power veto and the AI competition are over. It's possible. It's not a sure thing, but it's possible. So it's not a given that you're a total safe pawn by volunteering to go up. So nobody was really volunteering to go up. As I said, he did ask Joseph. Joseph was like, no. Tucker was pushing really hard for MJ to be nominated, or Leah, one of them. But what developed very late, not very late, but more recently, was a couple of things. There was a conversation going on where, first of all, MJ told, I talked about that this morning. I talked about this morning about the power, about MJ telling Cedric about her power, but she didn't quite explain it all the way. She didn't explain it very well. And some people, and I mentioned Dingo, were like, this is not fair. She's using production as a power. She can't do that. She can't use production to as a way to kind of get around stuff. She didn't describe her power properly. Well, Cedric was in the diary room, and the house guests were speculating that it must be time for nominations. But I'm like, it's too early. And when Cedric goes in for nominations, they will cut the feeds right away. They don't let us sit around and wait for him to come back out. So it's like, I don't think it's nominations. And as it turned out, it wasn't. Cedric came back out, and he went back and he started talking to Tucker about, Tucker's talking to him about nomination options. He's actually pressing for MJ to go up, or Leah. He's pressing that angle. And I posted a video of that conversation this afternoon. While they're having this conversation, MJ gets called into the diary room. So MJ is in the diary room talking with Big Brother. So that's going on. Meanwhile, so keep that in the back of your mind. Meanwhile, Tucker is talking to MJ. Oh, not sorry. Tucker is talking to Cedric and kind of pushing for MJ. But he says, but if you want, I'll go up, right? So he talks and he makes a comment, and I only say this because I tweeted it and it got a bunch of quick reaction, and I needed to go back, and I went back, found the audio, and posted it, and I think that may have made it not quite as bad as my initial tweet sounded, because what I tweeted was that Tucker was like, if he gets the women up, there's going to be a cat fight and they can just sit back, right? So I tweeted something to that effect. I can't even remember exactly how I tweeted it, but oh man, as soon as I tweeted that, I said the women and cat fight and sitting back and relaxing, oh man, it got favorited, retweeted, commented on. I was like, uh-oh, I just stirred up a hornet's nest. I better make sure I got it exactly as it was said, because I don't want to get this wrong. And so I actually, because I do have the ability to go back most times and get previous comments, because there are people out there that have their ways, and so I have access to tap in to get most of what is seen on the feeds that we see. It's not a private connection or anything. It's just I just have a connection with people that are recording all the time. I ran back and I got the actual audio, so I posted this clip this afternoon that is about 6 minutes long of Tucker talking to Cedric. And in that conversation, what Tucker actually said was, he said, what if MJ hasn't told the other women about her power? Okay? And Cedric said, I think she has. And Tucker actually said, yeah, I think she's told everybody. But let's just say she hasn't. If she hasn't told everybody, all the women, about her power, and you nominate her, and you force her to use the power, then all these women that she's working with, in theory, are going to, that's what's going to prompt this cat fight, okay? That's what he was saying. He was saying, if MJ is outed for lying to the other women, that will promote a cat fight, and they can just sit back and relax. So that's the actual way it was said. It wasn't that nominating women in general would create a cat fight. It was nominating MJ and outing her power might tick off the women because she hadn't told the other women about her power. So take it for what it's worth. That was the discussion. All right, so that conversation goes on, but at the same time, Tucker is volunteering to go up if Cedric can't figure out who else to put up, and so it would be Angela, Kenny, and Tucker. So then I stepped away for a bit, and when I came back, Cedric is talking in the storage room. Actually, I think the feeds cut, and when the feeds came back, MJ had come out of the diary room. She got a hold of Cedric, pulled Cedric into the storage room, and she proceeds to explain to Cedric again how her power works. She said, I may not have been as clear as I should have been or whatever about my power. And she cleared up the inconsistencies. And at first she didn't tell her. She said, it's kind of weird. There's a weird vote. You don't have to renominate somebody if I use this power. It's a kind of a weird vote thing. And then she said, oh, I'll just tell you, it's the America gets the vote. The public gets to vote on the renom. So she has now pretty much cleared up the power. And you can bet, I am 100% sure, that she got called into the diary room this morning, as I mentioned, and they told her, you need to fix this. You need to clear up your description of the power because you've kind of not told it correctly, and it's causing confusion. And so if you're going to tell people you have a power, you better tell them exactly how it works. So that's what she did. So there was a case of Big Brother not letting her miscommunicate something and get an advantage, if you want to think of it that way. So found that interesting. That was followed up by, and again, I didn't see it all happen, but the next thing I know, I see Tucker, Kenny, and Cedric talking in the storage room, and they are talking about the Women Alliance and trying to get a guys alliance going, kind of a thing or something, and saying the women are ahead of it. This is Tucker's thing. He's like, the women are already in an alliance. They're ahead of the game. And Kenny would agree that the women are in an alliance. So he's been saying that for a couple of days. So there's this whole guy saying the women have an alliance. The women have an alliance. We got to have a guys alliance. And so these bromance, in essence, that just suddenly formed of Tucker, Kenny, and Cedric, they form an alliance, and they're talking about shaking things up, right? So they're calling it the Shakers or the Shake It Up, whatever you want to say it. They were doing a dice reference or rocking the boat, shaking the boat, that whole kind of a thing. But they have now formed a three-person alliance, and crap, we're getting into construction. All right. They have formed a three-person alliance, and they're calling it the Shake It Up or the Shaken or whatever you want to think of it as. And it will, I don't know how long it's going to last, but we'll see. That's what's going on. Tucker is volunteering to go up. So Cedric is going to nominate Tucker, Kenny, and Angela. Angela is the target. But if things go sideways, it sounds like Kenny is willing to be voted out. Or if Angela manages to come off the block with the power of veto, or however, they're probably going to push Cedric to nominate a woman, and that will be the new target. Would be my guess when you have Tucker and Kenny talking. But Kenny was also saying like he's willing to go out. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Nominations have not happened yet, but Cedric went right away and told Cam this is what he planned to do. So I won't be shocked if that's what happens. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how it plays out. And again, I will probably talk to you guys this weekend because it seems like there's a little bit of stuff going on now and it could be interesting. So I will do another podcast, going to guess tomorrow or Sunday, and let you know the status. If the power veto, when the power veto competition happens, at least we'll have a better idea if this group is going to have. I cannot see this change. Cedric seemed pretty locked into it. So it's possible that this won't be the nominations. And if that changes again, I will also I'll do another podcast and let you know. But for now, I'm pretty darn sure it's going to be Tucker, Kenny, and Angela nominated. And Angela also knows she's nominated. She actually came to Cedric and says, I know what's going to happen. I'm okay with it. And she gave him a hug. So Kenny and Angela are two totally perfectly fine with being nominated. And Tucker is volunteering to get nominated because he thinks he's that bad, like a badass. And, whatever. I'm amazed at the amount of volunteering going on this season. It's crazy. So, yeah, we'll see how it falls out, guys. That's it for now. More stuff as I come up with it. I mean, there was other names on those names. The women got pulled aside, so got swept aside. Rubina's okay. MJ's okay for now. But again, MJ has outed her power even more. I don't think Quinn has told anybody else that I'm aware of right now. I know that Tucker told Joseph about Quinn's power, but I can't think of any others right now. So let me just let you go, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Or again, if something really wild and crazy happens, I'll be back on later tonight. Have a good rest of your Friday, if nothing else. And thanks again, as always, for your support. And we will talk to you guys sometime soon. See you later. Bye-bye.